In the news this morning, as floodwaters recede, the hurricane death toll mounts in Mexico. Another coup, another general in charge in Haiti, and getting ready for the great debate. In sports, an American boxer misses the bus and finds controversy. Don Criqui reports from Seoul. Joe Whitty says Gilbert's brought plenty of rain to the Farm Belt. And Don Regan says what he isn't hearing on the campaign trail. I'm Deborah Norville, and today is Monday, September 19th.
This is NBC News at Sunrise with Deborah Norville.
Good morning. The wind and the fury of Hurricane Gilbert have passed, but the full extent of the storm's damage is just beginning to become apparent. 98 people from the Caribbean islands to the mainland are known dead from Gilbert, but as NBC's Robert Hager reports, that figure could go well into the hundreds as victims from Sunday's tragic flooding accident in Mexico are discovered.
Many more than 100 are confirmed dead in Mexico from Hurricane Gilbert, and the true toll is probably well in excess of 200. Most of the fatalities were 180 miles inland, where unexpected flash flooding turned the waters of the Santa Catarina River through Monterey into a raging torrent. When the river receded, Mexican National Guardsmen began digging through the wreckage, searching for bodies. Downriver, a merry-go-round was all that remained of what had been a small amusement park spread out on the riverbank. In the village of Cadereyta, 4 bodies were found at this spot, where now women of the area tried to salvage the concrete blocks of what was once a home. The buses had been rerouted down the perilous river road by police who detoured them away from another flooded area. In the chaos of the suddenly rising waters and the fierce hurricane, police never imagined they were sending the buses directly into the worst of the flood. Robert Hager, NBC News, Monterey, Mexico.
The death toll is not as high in Jamaica. Gilbert killed 36 people there, but damage is extensive. 500,000 people have been left homeless. Aid from this country and from around the world is pouring in. On Sunday, Jesse Jackson toured some of Jamaica's hardest hit areas, saying he hopes his presence will persuade world leaders of the need for immediate additional aid. In other news, Haiti has changed generals, but the people who live on that island nation are expecting more of the same. General Prosper Avril is in charge in Haiti this morning after ousting General Henri Namfi in a coup on Sunday. Namfi is in exile in the Dominican Republic. NBC's Noah Nelson has more.
General Henri Namfi, just a few months ago, proclaiming himself leader of the country after exiling President Leslie Manigat. Now Namfi is in the Dominican Republic after being ousted by his general. This is a photo of the country's new leader, General Prosper Avril, taken after the coup. Avril was head of Haiti's Presidential Guard. The new government says some soldiers were killed during Namfi's expulsion from the country.
Namfi is reportedly staying here at this hotel in Santo Domingo. He arrived here with his wife and daughter under the protection of Dominican security officials.
In Miami, which has a large Haitian population, reaction to the coup was mixed. Many Haitians say they are glad Namfi is out, but do not believe things will change in Haiti.
Prosper Avril was he is a former member of the Namfi government. He is a former member of the Duvalier government. So we don't need this kind of change.
Prosper Avril has been involved in the killing, in the murdering of many innocent people, and we don't want any of these Duvalier loyalists to run the country.
Many Haitians wonder will Namfi will go now that his country is turned against him. The general has so far remained silent. Noah Nelson, NBC News, Santo Domingo.
And the Army is back in charge this morning in Burma after 1 month of very limited civilian rule. The military seized control Sunday, reportedly to end the unrest that has racked Burma for the last several months. The new rulers say that they will still hold elections, but they've already cracked down on political opposition, banning demonstrations and ordering strikers back to work. There has been widespread fighting, and 2 demonstrators were reportedly killed this morning while protesting outside the U.S. Embassy in Rangoon. And from Beirut this morning comes word of new conditions for the release of some of the American hostages. In a letter to Western news agencies, the group holding 3 American professors says it will consider freeing them if the United States declares its support for the Palestinian uprising in Israel. The State Department rejected a similar demand just last week. And in political news in this country, with polls so close, this year's presidential election could be decided by a candidate's performance in the two debates. The first debate showdown will be Sunday in North Carolina. As NBC's Dennis Murphy reports, George Bush is clearing his schedule to get ready for the debate.
The vice president has a very light campaign schedule this week. Most of the time, he'll be practicing for the debate, including a rehearsal with a Dukakis stand-in. Bush and his advisors have gone out of their way to say that Dukakis is the more polished debater of the two. But that's just a political game of lowering expectations. Bush more than held his own in Republican debates.
But to sit there and say that the way to find an instant answer is to spend more than $1 billion a year and throw it at the problem, I'm not for that.
If the speeches at last week's flag-bedraped campaign stops are a guide, expect Bush to attack Dukakis as weak on defense, a flip-flopper on Star Wars, opposed to new weapon systems.
You cannot fool the Soviet leadership by knocking America's defense for 10 years and then riding around a tank for 10 minutes.
Bush has also called Dukakis' so-called Massachusetts miracle the Massachusetts mirage. Bush has been telling blue-collar listeners that the Democrats will raise taxes. He won't. The two candidates meet face-to-face next Sunday. Dennis Murphy, NBC News, Washington.
Turning now to sports, a scare for Greg Louganis and a controversy when a boxer misses the bus. The Monday Sports Rundown is coming up next. The United States already has its first gold medal. There has been controversy to report at the Olympics and a lot more. And Don Criqui is in Seoul covering the Olympics both for NBC News at Sunrise and for NBC Sports. Good morning, Don.
Good morning, Deborah. As the games of the 24th Olympiad continue, there was good news and bad for the American team. On the downside, diver Greg Louganis, one of the world's best. You'll remember he won a gold medal at Los Angeles in 1984, banged his head today on the 3-meter board during preliminary competition. Fortunately, Louganis was able to leave the pool under his own power. He was stitched up, and he will continue competition. Over the years, the U.S. has had problems getting its athletes on occasion to Olympic venues on time. Today, our best middleweight boxer, Anthony Hembrick, was disqualified. Didn't even fight. He got to his bout late. He claimed the only bus that was available from the Olympic Village to the boxing venue was overcrowded, and they wouldn't let him on. Hembrick rushed the dressing room. His coaches rushed the officials' table. Ha Jung-ho of Korea was named the winner by forfeit, and Anthony Hembrick's chance for an Olympic medal ended before it began. U.S. coach Ken Adams says there was confusion over the match schedule.
I looked under the B schedule, and the B schedule said, and I looked, go from the top 1, 2, 3, and I counted, and we had about number 11. We had about 11 as looking on the schedule, and they didn't have, the schedules are not numbered. They're not numbered. It's got A's and it got B. And if you take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and go down the line, we had about 11, which means probably 15 minutes for about, we figured about 1 o'clock, but we wanted to be here at 10:30 just to be here a little early anyway.
The decision has been appealed. Adams says he takes blame for the whole thing. Meanwhile, another top U.S. boxer, Kelsey Banks, was being released from the Seoul hospital. Banks spent the night under observation after he was handed a stunning first-round knockout loss by Rogelio Tour of the Netherlands.
Kelsey Banks in a stunner has been knocked out.
And he is... The U.S. did win Olympic gold today when Janet Evans, the 17-year-old high school girl from Placentia, California, won the 400 IM, and Matt Biondi began his pursuit of 7 medals. He won bronze, coming in third in the men's 200-meter freestyle. In Major League Baseball, the pennant races, such as they are just about officially over. At Boston's Fenway Park yesterday, Ellis Burks of the Red Sox did in the Yankees in the first inning. He ripped a 3-run home run off Yankee starter Ron Guidry, and the Red Sox went on to again beat New York 9-4. Boston now leads second-place Milwaukee by 6 games. The Yankees are 6.5 back. In the AL West, the Oakland A's can clinch that division with a win over Minnesota tonight. The A's magic number is now down to 2 yesterday when they beat Kansas City. Jose Canseco, on his way in all probability to the American League Most Valuable Player Award honor, hit his 40th home run. In the National League, the Mets lead in the East is up to 11 games as they won again yesterday. Dwight Gooden got his 18th win of the season. And the Dodgers have a 9-game lead in the West, and their magic number is down to 6 after a win yesterday. So these gentlemen can print their playoff tickets. Week 3 of the National Football League season produced a major upset at San Francisco. The lowly San Francisco, the very highly rated San Francisco 49ers were upset by the Atlanta Falcons 34-17. The Falcons intercepted 49ers quarterback Joe Montana 3 times. This one caromed off fullback Tom Rathman of San Francisco. Robert Moore of the Falcons picked it off, and he was on his way to the end zone. It was Atlanta's first win of the season and San Francisco's first loss. And that's sports from Seoul, Deborah.
All right, and we'll say goodnight to you, Don, because it's a 14-hour time difference. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Gilbert is no longer a hurricane, but it is still having plenty of impact in the nation's midsection. Joe Whitty's first forecast of the week is next here on NBC News at Sunrise.
Good morning. The remains of Gilbert are moving towards the Ohio Valley, so I expect today some strong thunderstorms from Indiana to Ohio. That is a quick look at the national weather. Now here's what's happening in your neighborhood.
Good morning, Central Iowa. Here's your forecast for today. Rain and thunderstorms, windy with south winds becoming northwest at 15 to 30 miles per hour at the high 73.
Plays this Monday morning. Deborah.
All right, Joe, what you aren't hearing and what the candidates aren't saying. There is a major crisis at our inner-city hospitals in this country. Medical costs continue to rise. Millions of people do not have medical insurance, and cities and states aren't willing to pick up the tab. This morning, NBC's Keith Morrison has another look at these problems from the point of view of the hospital emergency room.
What do we got, gentlemen?
Saturday night at the California Medical Center, downtown Los Angeles.
I don't think we have a bed.
The emergency room has announced it's closed, full up. The paramedics have brought this man in anyway.
Do you hear me?
There's been a fight. He was slashed with a broken bottle, an artery severed. The beds are full. Dr. Alan Halpern works on them in a hallway.
I need a real suture set.
The medical team needs equipment. They remove another patient to deal with this one.
Okay, bring him in.
He's lucky. He lives. The evicted woman is probably glad to be out of there. Earlier, a thin curtain away from her, a boy, a shooting victim, just 15 or so, is brought in.
O negative blood 4 units. Now.
They work on him a long time, and it isn't pretty, nor is the result. They find the bullet went through his heart. He's dead, and probably was when he came in.
So what's the story, gentlemen?
And so was this man. In his 30s, also shot in the heart. Death took him, too. But he gets the full treatment. One shortcut, and Dr. Halpern could face a malpractice suit.
Let's take a look and see what the total is like.
The poor woman who saw all this had gout. Let it get worse and worse until she had to come here. Couldn't afford to see a doctor of her own. And none of those 4, dead or living, had adequate insurance, leaving California Medical to absorb the cost.
These patients have no other access to care. They come to our hospital, we take care of them, and we've reached the point where we're losing hundreds of thousands of dollars.